Hi, my name is Christy Alosio, and I'm a therapist at Family Tree Counseling Associates in Carmel, Indiana. And today I want to talk about what is healthy anger in a relationship. What does that look like? I have couples that come in here all the time that one of the first things they want to talk about is, the last thing we want to do is fight in front of our kids. And I always tell couples that I actually think it's a good thing for couples to fight in front of their kids, and everybody kind of gives me a funny look, but I say, you have to fight healthy in front of your kids. And what that looks like is just say, mom is mad at dad, and she is allowed to bring up the fact that she's mad. She can bring that up with him. The conversation may get heated, but nobody hits below the belt. And at the end of the conversation, the two still love each other, and that is a great model of healthy anger and healthy conflict for kids. They will develop a sense that I'm allowed to tell people how I feel. People don't abandon me when they're angry. We can have resolution at the end of the day. So I always like to tell my clients that start looking at anger and conflict in your relationship in a different way. I am definitely more worried about couples who come into my office that never fight than I am about couples who fight all the time. If couples are not fighting at all, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what kind of resentments are being brewed? What are people holding inside? I mean, it's impossible for you to live with another human being as closely as you do with your spouse and never have something that you disagree with them with, or something that you want to bring up, or something that you don't like that they do. So if people are never fighting, to me it's a big red flag of, okay, is somebody harboring a lot of resentment in the relationship? Not that fighting all the time is necessarily a good thing either, but there's not resentment there. We have to work more on the conflict issues, whereas if people don't have conflict, I'm like, okay, we're going to have to work more on some of the resentment issues. So most people don't have a good sense of what healthy anger looks like. So what is healthy anger? I always kind of like to use the example of a barricade around you. So if somebody has no anger at all, they don't have any kind of barricade around them. They don't have any kind of protection. And the problem with that is people could just run them over and walk all over them all they want because they have nothing to protect themselves. Somebody that has too much anger, I like to say it's kind of like a barrel or a wall that goes all the way up to here on a person, so they're protected and people can't run over them and people can't knock them over, but at the same time they can't really connect with people, even people that are close to them in relationships, because they have such a high barrier up. So ideally, to me, healthy anger would be a barrel that kind of goes halfway up, and so people can't run you over, they can't knock you over and walk on you, but at the same time, you're protected, but you can also connect with people. You're not so closed off that you can't. Of course, this is a hard place to be. It's that happy medium of finding what is the balance of healthy anger. So you have to be real in your own relationship, in your own life, and say, am I allowed to have anger? Do I feel like I'm okay to have anger? Am I allowed to tell my partner when I'm upset? Can I bring it up? Can I have conflict? And if I can't, why not? I always, when couples come in and anger is an issue, I always, kind of draw a scale and say, here's no anger at all, and here's way too much anger, and where do you fall on that? Because there's just right in the middle. And if you're falling over here where there's not enough anger, it feels like you're a doormat, and that's a really harsh word, and people hate it when I use that word at first, but sometimes the harshness of the word could kind of snap people into this, oh my gosh, I have to do something different, this isn't working for me. And a lot of times I find if people get stuck down here in this little to no anger section, they live there, and then all of a sudden they'll maybe jump over here to the too much for just a quick second, just enough to rage at people, and then they come right back to the little anger, and they're kind of creating this vicious cycle. Sometimes people that don't have a lot of anger, they don't have great examples of anger growing up. So I always ask people, where did you learn about anger? Where did you learn what anger should look like or what it should be like? And if somebody grows up with a parent who has rage where, things are fine, 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 and all of a sudden there's this huge blow up, and in the blow up, the parents are mad at each other, and one of them leaves, and there's all this tension, for a child, that's really, really uncomfortable. So, for that child, they learn, I don't want to be angry. Angry equals nasty. Angry equals somebody leaving and, going to a hotel for a couple nights, or anger means there's going to be tension in the house for a couple days, so I'm just going to avoid it like the plague. I'm not going to have any anger. And what happens is they live in that place of no anger, no anger, no anger. They get walked on. They don't have much of a voice because they're living down here, and I just want to make everybody happy. What happens eventually is all of that resentment kind of builds up, and eventually they tend to rage. That's why they're down here with the no anger, and then they jump over here to too much anger just for a second and jump back, and they're actually recreating the same kind of issues that were modeled to them as a kid. They're holding it in, and they're raging. So what they're trying to prevent most of all is raging, but that's actually what they're creating by trying to prevent it. I'm going to try to prevent it, so I'm not going to be angry at all, because any kind of angry equals bad. But if I don't have any anger at all, it's going to build, and it's going to build, and it's going to build, and I'm going to blow and have these rages and then go right back here. So you have to, again, look at what was modeled to me, what was my view of anger, and how does that affect me in my marriage and my adult relationship. So I had a client one time where the only time she ever saw her parents fight was the night that her mom left and didn't come back. The parents ended up getting divorced, and so for her model of anger was, if somebody's angry, it's going to be really bad, and bad things are going to happen. I'm going to be abandoned. So for her, she could not have any anger in her marriage at all. She would hold it all in, but she eventually got extremely depressed just because she wasn't able to have as much of a voice as she needed to, because anger helps us have boundaries with people. If we don't have any anger, we can't say, hey, these are my needs. I need to get them met. They're important for me to get for you to help me meet my needs, and I need to be heard. Having healthy anger helps you protect yourself. I'm not going to let you treat me like that, not just in relationships, but at work and with our friends and with people who may work for us. Having healthy anger says I can set boundaries when I need to, and I can protect myself when I need to. But it's about learning good anger. I won't say good anger versus bad anger, but healthy anger versus reactive anger. So let me talk about the two. Reactive anger, I think we've all seen it. It's the blow up, it's the rage, it's the, you've poked a button and I'm going to react back. It's completely based on emotion. There's not a lot of process or thought behind it. Something's triggered, I react. And when people are reactive, nobody hears you. So you could be screaming them, something very important. You could be raging about something that is very important to you and makes a lot of sense. But if you're doing it in a reactive way, people aren't going to hear you. They're going to stop listening because all they're seeing is just a reactivity. If somebody could be screaming the cure for cancer in our parking lot right now, which would be one of the most important things ever known to man, but if they're doing it in a reactive way, people are just going to be like, hey, there's a crazy person in the parking lot, instead of saying this person has something really important to say. So that's the first thing is, anger is not going to get you a voice. It's not going to help you with boundaries and consequences if it's based on reactivity. Healthy anger looks more like fire in the belly. It's empowerment. It's a growing, hey, this is important to me. Hey, I'm important. It's okay for me to ask what I need. It's okay for me to tell you I'm upset. It's okay for me to protect myself. So when I say fire in the belly, empowerment anger, think about when you're building a campfire and you get the big logs and you put them there, and then you get the little kindling and put it all around, you put some newspaper in there and you light it, and then it slowly starts to build and it slowly starts to build, and you kind of poke around at the fire and help it build, and eventually you get this nice blazing hot fire that sustains for quite a while. That is what healthy anger looks like. Reactive anger is like you throw the logs on, throw a little bit of newspaper, and then just pour a whole bottle of lighter fluid all over it, and then it just blows up. But what happens is it blows up and it instantly goes back down. So we need that kind of steady empowerment of protecting yourself, having boundaries, consequences. Just empowerment is a word that keeps coming to my mind that says it's okay for me to be angry. Anger is not a bad thing. It helps me get my needs met. So you need to take a look at your own models of anger growing up. I mean, we learn what's, right and wrong, the way the world works, from our families, because they're our main influence. And what do they teach us? And realizing that you're not stuck in that. Just because your model of anger may have been a parent blowing up and leaving doesn't mean that's what all anger is about or how your anger has to look. You can change that. It always sounds so obvious when I'm like, you can change your paradigm. You can change the way that you view the world. And people are like, wow, yeah, you're right, I can. And even though that sounds really obvious, it's a lot harder to do than just saying it, but just having somebody say, that's not the way that you have to have your relationship be. That's not the way your anger has to look in your relationship. It can look different, and it can be good, and it can be healthy, and it can help you get your needs met and be happier in your relationship. Again, not only with your spouse, but with your children and maybe at your job or with friends. So I hope this video helped you more than anything, just take a look and say, what does my anger look like? Do I have too much? Do I have too little? And how can I make that look different for me so that I can be happier and healthier in my relationship? So if you want to learn more about your anger, you can come in and see me, send me an email. My email is ChristyFamilyTree@live.com. That's CHRISTY familytree@live.com. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a great day.